I was at a business networking meeting last night, and two separate executive coaches came up to me to introduce themselves and to talk about the organization we were part of, and how I liked being a member of it, but also about their businesses and how they're growing their businesses and what their focuses were. And the subject came around both times to client acquisition, and both times I said, "Oh, well, I have a full practice with a waiting list." And both of them looked at me shocked. And I forget sometimes what it is I built here. And, I'm one of the top coaches in the world. It's taken 10 years and I built that. But the look on their faces when I said I have a full practice with a waiting list uh, really confirmed to me something that I've been thinking about. It's like 10 years to an overnight success kind of thing. I've been doing this for a long time now, a decade, and I built myself a really credible business. So, I've written several books. I've given several hundred workshops and talks. I've really built a business over time. But when I started, I was floundering. I wasn't charging enough. I always had about 5 or 6 clients, but I wasn't charging enough, and I was always scraping and worried where the next client was going to come from, and how was I going to feed my family, and how was I going to keep my obligations when I had left my really high-paying sales job. And what I noticed is, if you stick around long enough, if you stay and you get better and better at what you do, you accumulate, you build a business. And that I take that back to my sales career. When I became a salesman, terrified every day, terrified. I was such a neophyte in every room that I was in. And then over time, I remember. Oh, actually, this was the point of this this thing is when I tried to get a job in high tech sales, I was turned down by every company in Silicon Valley because I didn't have the right resume, because I was homeless and then I was a waiter. So I didn't have any resume whatsoever to get myself into these tech positions. I finally talked myself into a position at NetApp, the fastest growing company in Silicon Valley history, and I wound up crushing it there. And then I went to a company called VMware, which was, again, another one of the fastest growing companies. And then I went to another company called Data Domain, the fastest growing company in Silicon Valley at the time. Right. When you look at my resume as a sales guy, I worked for the who's who of bleeding edge technology growth. Like I rode those waves. So I went from having no resume to the best resume in tech sales. But that took time, right? That took time and work. And in the 15 years that I did that, again, I built that reputation. So that, same thing that happened with my coaching business, I now see happen with my sales career. Let's go back even further to when I started waiting tables at the Four Seasons. When I started waiting at the Four Seasons, I had been a waiter and a bartender my whole life, but the Four Seasons was a new environment for me. It was so haughty and high class, and we had things called Garridons, which is the station that you work for as a waiter in a high class restaurant. We made table side Caesar salads. I would go and I would sweat polishing my silverware every day, terrified from when the doors open and senators and royalty and celebrities would walk through the door and I would have to serve them. I remember one of the celebrities complaining about me on my first day. That was wonderful. I was terrified every single day. So there's a theme here, by the way. I was terrified as a waiter. I was terrified as a sales guy. I was terrified as a coach when I first started. Uh, and I had to build my skills. I had to build my confidence. So by the time I left waiting tables at the Four Seasons, I was actually one of the trainers. I was training new people to wait tables in this high class environment. So again, give time. So whenever you're promoted, whenever you're going to a new job, when you're breaking in to anything, it's going to feel new. It's going to feel scary. So if you're going from director level to VP level, from VP level to C-suite, it takes different skills. You learn some skills along the way, but it takes different skills. It takes a different way of being. You have to let go of some things and you have to take on things that are unfamiliar. So take a deep breath, give time. You can't be great at something immediately, right? It's, when you find your click, when you find your, where you belong. Like for me, coaching, there was much easier learning curve with coaching because it's actually my calling. It's actually the thing I'm doing, the thing that I was born to do. So that learning curve was a little different than being a sales guy, or even being a waiter, for that matter. But when you get to that next level, when you switch jobs, when you switch industries, anything, give yourself a break on the learning curve, right? You can't be perfect and you can't be great from the first minute. Be a sponge, learn, work hard, but really believe in yourself. And then you're going to look back 1 year, 2 years, 3 years goes by. Now you're an expert. Now you're in the pocket. Now you're in the growth mode. But you have to give time. So patience with yourself, earnestness, and give time, and you will be the top in your field. Hope those stories were were helpful. It really was an epiphany for me last night when those two coaches just, their eyes got big, and I realized I worked really hard to get where I am today, and I've earned, every client, every good thing that's happening in my business by going through the rough stuff. So if you're going through the rough stuff now, one step in front of the other, and build that book of business. Thank you for listening. I love you a ton. Have a great rest of the day.